News.
All right, so will IBC release the updated voters register or not before Kibra residents go back to the polls to elect the new member of parliament? That is an answer we'll be giving you once the High Court, gives a ruling early, in the morning, and Jeff Curie will be giving us details about that later on. But this morning, let's talk about matters culture in institutions of higher learning. Have we forgotten about our culture, and how can we ensure that our culture remains despite the globalization, effect that we are currently witnessing? And talking to us about this is Dr. Albert Nzabonaliba, who's the principal Marist at the Marist International University. Thank you so much, Dr. for talking to us. I think I got your name correctly, yes. Nzabonaliba. A very unique name, if I may say so.
It's a Rwandese name.
It's a Rwandese name, such a unique name. Yeah. Now, let's talk about culture. When you talk about culture as Africans, are we still embracing our culture, or globalization has actually made us forget about our culture?
Culture is, as Aimé Césaire, one of the philosophers, African from Martinique, said, is a complicated affair. Mm-hmm. It is everything. It runs from what we think, what we have produced in terms of artifacts, for example, in terms of the values we have, the beliefs, and it's quite everything. Mm-hmm. I think I agree with what the messenger said. And answering your question about are we taken up by the globalization, I would say it's true. Mm-hmm. It's true. The means of communication today have gone beyond what culture can offer. Mm-hmm. But at the university, we are trying to see how to relate with our own cultures, mm-hmm. so that we defend the values of our forefathers, and we emulate all the heroes of our cultures. I'm thinking of the heroes like in Africa, Nelson Mandela. We have great people, Nyerere, great people, Jomo Kenyatta, Kibaki, and today we have Honorable President Kenyatta, who is the current leader of Kenya. So we are trying to see how universities can take our students into what we have acquired in terms of knowledge, in terms of the values and the characters, mm-hmm. that students can be fit in this globalized society.
All right. And when you talk about culture in a university, and just looking at even the way you're dressed, there's the African, culture in you just from your dressing. But when you talk about culture in institutions of higher learning, then how are you introducing a culture? Is it through dressing? Is it through our language? Or is it through the food that we eat? Yeah.
At the university, as everybody has passed through the university systems, it's more about formal education. The contents from a particular faculty, a department, there is the class units each one has to take and to make sure that you get your degree. This is quite a big package at the university. But at the university, we are trying to see how we can run what is called informal education or hidden curriculum through cultural weeks. At Marist, the National University College, we had last week, it was our cultural week that ended on 2nd November. Mm-hmm. And we normally display a lot of cultural facts. Mm-hmm. And we invite guests. Last Saturday, we invited His Excellency Honorable Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, and he would speak to the group about promoting peace through cultural diversity appreciation. Mm-hmm. And it was good to hear him talking about asking all of us to pray for peace through our cultural diversity appreciation. Mm-hmm. He called the congregation to pray hard that South Sudan, since he is the peace envoy to Sudan and South Sudan Republic, so he called us to pray hard that peace may prevail, have a new government, and that we embrace the culture of peace.
All right. But even as you talk about culture, I believe even during that, International Week of Culture, there are several exhibitions that students were actually portraying, to everyone who was attending that culture week. So through the exhibitions, through what the students were exhibiting, during that culture week, did it portray or give a message that every student understands and knows their culture?
It was clear that there was this kind of appreciation from the different exhibitions. We had, Maris International University College has more than 23 nationalities from Africa. And all that was displayed from the Kwetu group, the young boys with their fanfare, with their music, with their drama playing, going to the Nigerian group, which is a very impressive group, and other different groups. So this appreciation to see what others are offering that we don't have. The best practices that you find in Malawi, the best practices you find in Congo, and we embrace the best.
All right.
So a Kenyan embraces the best from Malawi, from Rwanda, from Senegal, and wherever. So the theme was about we are appreciating our diversity, cultural diversity, and the students seem to have come to that understand that we are one. We are one. We can't divide ourselves alongside the differences. There are differences, we acknowledge the differences, but we transcend the differences because there's beauty that we can get from other cultures.
But even as much as you're saying that, students have come to accept, the culture, different cultures that they have, and it also depends also where someone comes from. But there's this tendency, if I may say so, lack of a better word, by Africans to tend to forget our culture very easily, especially when we go to the Western countries. You'd see people, staying there for like 2 years, 1 year, and you tend to adopt their culture, such that when you come back home, you seem to be having a culture shock of what's happening.
It's a big risk because one of the sociologists called Louis Althusser, he talks about ideological agencies. Like KTN, it's an agency that can shape people's minds and behaviors. So people going to study abroad, they are captured by all those, the things that they are exposed to. Internet is one of them, the TVs, the newspapers, even the ideological educational systems. You go to Oxford, you go to Italy, you go to America, you easily embrace the culture that is transmitted through such agency. We have agencies, family is an agency. Education is also another agency. So what is happening today is that the agencies have become so powerful. They change our way of thinking, our way of behaving. And this is counterproductive. I mean, we are running the risk of losing our identity. All Culture is about identity. And the universities today, they need to see how they can instill, they can revive the African cultures, so that we are not disintegrated. One of the psychologists called Erik Erikson, with his approach psychosocial development, he talks about the identity or role confusion. So these agencies, ideological agencies, they have brought to the weak minds of our students all these powers to the point that our students, they lose their identity. Right. And identity is something we have to build. It's not only during adolescent time, it's all through.
All right, all right. And lastly, as we bring this conversation to an end, Dr. within a minute, as Africans, what can you say when it comes to our culture? Where are we, as the African continent? Have we totally lost our culture that we need to use institutions of higher learning to teach us about our culture?
Not all is lost. as I was speaking about these agencies, ideological agencies, so powerful. No, it's, I would say it is the battle that we have lost. But we have a war to fight. And universities in particular, I'm talking about our own university, Catholic University of Eastern Africa, where we belong to. We are a constituent college of the Catholic University under the leadership of...
all right.
Yeah. So all is not lost. So our institutions, they are trying to have what's called hidden curriculum, to have our students embrace our cultures, embrace our beliefs, and be productive in terms of their character, their behaviors, and shaping new ideas.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Albert Nzabonaliba, Principal at the Marist International University, talking to us about our culture. It's very good for us to embrace our African culture, and let's be proud African.
It's
for
about
me,
who I am and
yeah,
who
it's about who I am, who we are. But personally, for me, I'm proud to be an African, and I'm proud to be a Kenyan, and I'm sure you're also proud to be a Rwandese.
You
and
see,
proud
I put this Rwandese cultural
yes, and
facts.
proud to be a Kenyan. I mean, proud to be an African also. Taking us to a short commercial break here on a KTN News Center, but we still have a lot lined up for you, so keep it KTN News.